Thank you. Am I working? Yeah. All right, good. I never remember if I have the mic on or not. So welcome to the clumsy start. We'll just edit that out in post. This is OnSet. I'm Daniel Norton here in the Adorama space on 42nd Street in New York City. Sets on the Mighty Mix.
42 West 18th Street. You just said 42nd Street.
18th Street. And
wow.
All right.
Wow.
I'm out of here.
What are you doing, Macy's all of a sudden? What is this?
I was getting ready for the parade. So surprise, I'm going to be hosting the parade.
Wait, that's 34th. I'm bad. Horrible.
What's on 42nd Street these days? The M&M store? You can see me do some demos there later. That would be awesome. All right, we're going to add that to our agenda. Anyways, Justin's here. Star of a stage and a screen.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're gonna talk about shooting with hard light, right? Having a good time. So let's just kind of do a little terminology thing like we always do. Basically, when you're talking about light, you'll often hear people say hard light, soft light. It's some of the most common kind of terms that you use. There's other things like diffuse and stuff like that people talk about, but more importantly, people will say hard and soft. And what does that even mean? Because before you start doing any kind of demo or you're learning something or you're getting into a conversation, you want to make sure you're talking about the same thing, right? When we are talking about hard versus soft, we're essentially talking about shadow transition. That transition is either hard, that is abrupt, so your shadow and then you're neutral, right? Or normal exposure. Or it's soft, it feathers out into the darkness from the neutral. So you might have like a nice light on one side of the face that you can kind of see detail and then it drifts off into shadow. That would be more of a soft light, whereas a hard light will be, boom, goes dark quickly. What this does is it brings out texture, okay? That's the main reason why we love hard light for portraiture, because every little strand of hair, when you have a jacket, that has some kind of texture to it, you've got skin, right? That is texture, believe it or not. And if you haven't been on Snapchat, you would know skin has texture. And that all creates little micro shadows, and that helps shape and add three-dimensionality to your image. If you use a soft light, those shadows are generally more diffused out. That helps if, let's say, you want to reduce contrast and texture. So it's not that one is better or worse, they're just different tools for different things. So hard light is often used to shape the face for more dramatic type work, though that's not always the case, and soft light the opposite. So one of the things that we have to remember is soft and hard doesn't have anything to do with even, because I think this is the problem that some people have. They will take a camera that has a flash on it, like a little flash, and they'll stand and they'll make a shot, and the light will be even because it's right in front of the camera, right? And you won't see a lot of shadow except maybe a little bit on the background, just that little rim of shadow. That's a hard light, and that's why it often doesn't look great, because it's its position and what it is, right? It's not soft because it's even, so remember that. Shadow does not mean hard. Hard is transition to shadow. This is it's key here. What else are we talking about here? Oh, making portraits. All right, so the size of your source relative to what you're photographing determines how hard your light is. Smaller sources are hard, larger sources are soft, okay? So what makes something soft? I just said it. I literally just said it. Eric's here like, I don't know. Why don't you explain it to me, Daniel? Okay, Eric. Big equals soft. So if I'm photographing Justin's, let's say his head and shoulder, if the light source relative to him is larger than that, it will become soft. It can be really soft. It can be kind of soft, right? It just kind of depends. And of course you could do the trick that you think about, like you can block the sun, right? Or the moon with your hand because it's far away. So even though scientists tell us, I'm not sure if I trust them, that the sun is really big, doesn't look big to me, but whatever, because it's far away, it's small. So again, if you're using a small source, up close, it can be soft, relatively speaking. So we'll play around with it a little bit, but those are just kind of the general terms. That way I don't have to explain anything else for the rest of this. Kidding, of course. All right, so I'm going to use Profoto Flash. Particularly, I'm going to start anyways with the Magnum reflector. This is about a 16-inch, I want to say about 14 or 16 inches reflector. So, it's about as big as the average size head. Oh.
And measure it.
14 inches.
Okay.
All right. So it's about 14 inches. So, if I stand next to it, you can see it's probably about the size of my head. So if it's right next to me, this could be soft because it's the same size. As we back it up, it's going to become harder and harder. What's nice about using this, and the reason why I am using it, versus let's say just the bare head, which we will also use, which is about 3 inches, right? This is smaller, so in theory it's harder, right? But this leaves us very little control. This is going to throw the light everywhere, right? Where our Magnum is going to give us a more kind of narrow beam, right? Beam spread is important. So we're going to start with the Magnum because that's what I like. This, by the way, is my favorite lighting tool. So if you ever like are in jeopardy or something, and like the question is, or the answer would be, I don't know how they do it. How would Jeopardy do that? It would just say Magnum
Jeopardy
reflector.
would never ask.
Reflector, and it would be like, what is Daniel Norton's favorite lighting source?
There you go. There you go. So if you're ever on Jeopardy, that's the answer.
You will never make it to Jeopardy. I just want you to know.
You don't know that. All right. Why don't I see anything?
Because I'm John Cena.
Live you want?
Okay. Is that correct? Okay, so that's going to set up my camera. This is a new camera. This, by the way, this is a Nikon Z6ii, which I did not set up because I just randomly take it out of my bag and stick it on a tripod. That's how I roll. I find the best way to deal with any camera is just start using it near Seth, and he'll just set it up for you. It's like, if you buy a new camera, just got to come in the store and be like, I'm trying to take a picture here, and Seth will be like, give me that, and he'll fix it.
Sad as it is, that's all I do for you is tech help.
That's, you know, more or less. All right. He fixes stuff all day long. Everybody's got to have one friend like that. All right, so we're going to frame this up, and we're going to start with some basic stuff here. We're going to, I guess I should use something, a soft light. That would be a good contrast, right, to show the difference. It's my first time. No. We're just going to go for it. But what we want to do first is establish that I'm actually showing you what is true, right? Like you're like, who is this guy, right? Why is he standing up? Did he just walk in the store and stand up here? Does he even know what he's talking about? And what we want to, what we want to do is show that everything that we're producing with our light is doing what we're talking about. So the way we do that is by getting rid of all the other light in the space. We have in this space beautiful nan lights set up by Seth all day. He's been working on, and they are beautiful. These are beautiful lights up here.
Actually, we actually don't know the base anymore. We don't know the base exposure.
We do not know the base exposure. So we're going to find out right now. What we need to do is set the camera so that none of the light in the space is affecting our shot. And the way that we do that is we set our ISO at the lowest in its normal range. So for this camera, that's 100. Our shutter speed at 200, which is the fastest to sync with the flash. I know, high speed sync, we don't do that stuff. That's a whole other demo. I can't give you 2 demos in one. And then finally, oh, look at that.
Figured it might help.
Oh yeah, okay. And then we're going to set our f-stop so that we get rid of the light in the space. Now what you're seeing now is a simulation. Everything's a simulation unless you take this blue pill. Okay, all right, forget it. All right, so when I press this button on the front of the camera, what we're getting is the actual exposure. So basically, this is a simulation to let us see what we can get. If you have a camera that's a mirrorless camera and you're using it in the studio a lot, I recommend having, if you can, your camera set up this way. I can see fine, right? But when I press this button, I can see the true exposure. And what's the exposure? It's black, right? But just to, so we're at f8 right now. That seems about right. So I'm just going to take a photo. All right, I'm in capture 1. This is not the photo, that's a live view. And we see that it is indeed black. But what we want to do is we want to confirm basically how dark is it. I could set it f22. That would definitely make it black, right? But what's the problem with that? When I start using my flash, I'm gonna be using a lot more power that I don't need to. So we wanna find a good balance here. So usually a couple stops underexposed is good. So I'm gonna drag my slider over till we start to see skin tone. There it is, right around there. And we're almost 3.5 stops down. So I basically could even open up a little bit and be fine, you know? But I once coined the phrase, it was me, F8 and B. I think if I say it enough online, because you know, the AI chatbots or whatever, they scrape YouTube for information. So I figure if I just say that enough, that they'll actually eventually think that I said it. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna shoot at 6.3 and just see what the difference, oh, that's a flash, don't look at that, okay. Ignore that shot. All right, so it's still black right to our eyes, but I just want to show the difference here. We drag over the exposure, we start to see skin tone. We're about 2.5 stops, right? So that seems pretty good to me. So we're shooting at 6.3. That means all the light you're going to see light justing up is coming from me, good or bad, right? I got to take credit and blame for all of it. I'm going to position my light now in an interesting way. You know, in most cases, if you're not really sure what to do, a good fallback is to take your light and put it to one side slightly and to kind of put it above eye level. Now, when you're dealing with soft light, I generally say to put the light at the distance of its largest size close to the subject. I say if it's a 3-foot softbox, you want to put it 3 feet away as a good starting point. With a hard light, you kind of want it further away, but at the same time, you don't. And we'll talk about that now. Right now, I'm going to leave it here. It's about, what, 3.5, 4 feet away? And we're going to take a shot, and we're going to see what it looks like. Now, I'm using TTL exposure. So TTL means through the lens. That way, what's happening is oh yeah, look at you. The camera is using its internal meter to make the exposure correct from the flash. It's matching the exposure. I am still in manual. That's sometimes a question that people will say. You're shooting in automatic? My camera is in manual, but the flash is making an automatic exposure. Okay, so it's a little bit of a different way to think about it. And we can see, again, this is a hard light because we can see the shadow transition is pretty abrupt. We can see texture in the skin.
Nose hairs, yep.
Nose hairs. We can look at that beautiful eyebrows on fleek.
Oh,
And we're looking good, right? Nice, hard, crispy light on Justin. Crispy. Now, this reflector, by the way, is white on the inside. This is new. The original Magnum was silver. I feel like I have to hide so you guys, or I'm hiding when I do that. You can't see me, right? It's like a blackout. This is white. So what white is going to do is it's going to reduce the specularity. Specularity is your highlights, right? So with the white Magnum, you're going to get basically a smoother transition in your highlights. So not only are we going to have abrupt shadow transition, our skin is going to be more even, right? If I use the silver light, we're going to get more likely have like kind of like hot spots, if you will, on the skin. So if you're photographing somebody, let's say, who's shiny, then having a white interior reflector can be very useful. In my case, I don't have a choice because that's what's here. So I just use what they give me. No, this is nice.
Nice.
Okay. So far, so good. That was pretty easy, right? All right, good. I feel like we're cruising now. So obviously there's a shadow on the wall. The light maybe isn't in absolutely the best position. So we can play around with this a little bit. What we've got here is the light, right? Making a hard light with which way we want it, but it's kind of far away. Because it's far away, the distance from the light to the subject and the subject to the wall basically determines how bright the wall is, because that's the inverse square law, right? If this light is closer to him relatively to the wall, then the wall will in theory be darker in general. Also, if it's closer to him, it's going to change the position of the shadow on the wall behind him. So we can manipulate this hard light in order to create basically a nice shot on him that's going to shape his face, but then also not throw like an oddball shadow on the wall if that's not what you want. Now, if you love that shadow on the wall, then you're basically done. I mean, sometimes you want a shadow on the wall.
Like a noir or something.
Yeah. Sometimes it can work, right? Now, when we raise the light up, we have to consider where our shadows are going to fall, right? So this is going to be a deep shadow. One thing the hard light can be really nice for is creating these like deep, sudden shadows on the face, and we can use that to effect. So that's what we're going to do here, kind of creating a bit of a mood. Obviously, it's closer to the top of his head than it is to his chin, so his head is going to be bright here, relatively speaking. He's got dark hair, and the light's kind of feathered off. We'll see how it translates. We might need to adjust it slightly, but let's start here. These are all things you have to think about when you put a light close to somebody. Right? So now we can see, right? We're getting that kind of darker vibe, right? His eyes just have that little bit of color in it because we're just starting to get it. The hard light is creating texture, so we're seeing kind of the shape of his face. We can see that kind of that the forehead is a bit brighter, but it's not so much that it's an issue, right? If we thought that was an issue. Now, just as a feel, if you wanted, that's like a nice moody kind of shot. If instead,
I'm good at the brood.
he is. He's a broody guy.
Brood.
if we wanted him to be less broody, we can't. No, we can basically have him look up a little bit, because if his chin is up so it's closer to the angle of the light, sorry, I think you might have blinked, then we get more light in his face, right? So we can play off of this, right? We can have dramatic light, and it's really going to matter where he puts his face. If we were shooting with a giant softbox, right, and you've probably done that a lot, or just look at this light, which is pretty even, right? If I bring my face up and down, it doesn't change it that dramatically, right? But when we're this close with the light, and it's a hard, punchy light source, we're going to get really dramatic changes in the shadow, depending on where we place it and where he moves his head. So this becomes a little bit more, we want to be nuanced in how we pose our subject, right? Question.
So Bob in the chat, sounds like a fake name to me,
Bob in the chat.
is asking, what about a silver magnum reflector with diffusion?
Okay, so that's a really good question. Back in the day, before this year, when they didn't make a white interior magnum reflector, you might put a diffuser on your silver magnum. The only issue I have with putting a diffuser on the front of a light source like a magnum is that when you put the diffuser, we don't have a diffuser, right, to show, but basically a diffuser would be, yeah, I just want to show how it'll go on there. Do we have like a gel or something? Well, I just want to show how it goes. So basically the diffuser, I'll use the grid. Pretend this is a diffuser. If I take something and I put it on the front of the light, right? What's going to happen is that becomes the light source, which by nature will make it a little bit softer, but also that means that the light's going to start to spill. Remember earlier when I showed this light and I said this is great except it spills? That's what kind of ends up happening with a diffuser on the front of a silver. So if you have a silver magnum reflector and you don't want to pick up a white one, then a diffuser will be good, but it won't be the same. Oh yeah, we can put a diffuser on this one. Thank you. Okay, so this is the diffuser, basically. This is from the front of a softbox, right? It's basically material that is designed to diffuse the light, so to scatter the light, right? So if we put it in front of our box, or our magnum reflectors would be, even if we put it right up against it, it's still going to scatter the light more. So we can actually do that, right? We do have, yeah, thanks. Thank you. Just using, oh, sorry, clips. Grab that. Thanks, Eric. I'm just going to stand here and step up for a second. Yeah. Just don't want to poke you in the eye. I mean, I wouldn't mind normally, except we're live streaming and all that. We're trying not to. Right. Yeah, I'd like it if you could do it. Yeah. Yeah, this is the trick. 2 tricks to do a photography. Always do it in the camera store so that all the gear's here. And 2, have Seth there to help you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're just going to kind of put it across for a second just to kind of. Yeah.
Got it?
Got it. Is that going to hold? I think so. Yeah, so again, not perfect, but what we get is and by the way, this could be a fun technique to use. The light's going to get inside this diffuser and it's going to actually make the light source kind of wrap around and we're going to get kind of a good effect here. Yeah, you can look towards it. That'd be cool. Yeah, look at that. Chin up a little bit.
You and me need different wardrobe. You know that?
So what we see here is the background, right? The background now is going to grab more light because the white diffuser is spreading it out more, right? We're also going to have a little bit more diffusion on his skin, which would make, if we had highlights, this is a little overexposed, but if we had highlights, they would be maybe a little bit more poppy. But again, because we have a white interior, it's not really going to do that. So that's the downside, right? They do make a diffuser that goes, I'm going to pull this off just a bunch. So they do make a diffuser that goes directly onto the front. It wouldn't scatter quite as much, but it would still have that same effect. So yeah, you could do that. And it's funny because there are so many tools and we're very lucky. Well, not the person online asking the question, but we're very lucky to be in New York or if you're in a larger city because you can rent stuff. And that's what I would do with these kind of things. Rent a white one, rent a silver one, see what you like, see how it works for you, because they are different, but they're also similar, right? And pick the one that works best and you're probably fine.
Rob in the chat's asking, how do you decide where to set your color temperature?
Okay, so how do we decide where to set our color temperature? There's a lot of different ways to do it. I have found that with these Nikon cameras and with Profoto lights, setting it at 5,000 Kelvin looks good to me. for portraiture and the kind of work that I do. If you want to do something exacting, then you could do a custom white balance. I do have. It's getting old. I don't think you get these. Yeah, I don't get this anymore. You probably can't get this one because they're hard to get, but basically you get one of these cards that's designed for white balance and you photograph it and then you set a white balance off of it. So we could do that. So hold that. Yeah, hold that right in front of your grill. Yeah, you can grab it. Yeah. Just make sure you're smiling. There we go. Okay, good. So we have that exposed. You want to look to where it's exposed properly. So somewhere, it's a little dark, but, and we want to go this. You know, in theory, that's going to be the correct white balance. I tend to like it a little bit cooler, so. Okay. Capture one will, yeah, it's going to make it, whoa.
Because you were exposed for the diffuser, you took the diffuser off.
Yeah, but I'm a TTL.
Are you in TTL?
Yeah, I think the light's just mad at me now. Yeah, it's mad at me. Step this way a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Sometimes when you're using TTL and stuff, yeah, I'm TTL, okay. It seems it's consistently wrong. All right. I'm gonna just make it a little darker here so we can take a quick look at this because I'm gonna correct this because I do not like it. So we can see that it corrected it, and maybe this is more correct in color because I use the white balance card. Personally, I don't care. I want it to look good, right, to me. And if I don't like the warmth in the skin, and I like it to be a little bit more cooler as it is in here, then I'm just gonna, well, probably here. Then I'm gonna set it at 5,000. Now, if you look, this probably is more accurate, right? The second one is probably more accurate, especially if you look at his clothing, you can really tell that. But I personally like the little cooler, so I'm gonna leave it at 5,000. White balance is one of those things. If you are making portraits or any kind of work that is more artistic in nature, let's say, where it doesn't have to match color exactly perfect, you will find that you will adjust it to suit what you like, right? What I wouldn't do is leave it in auto. Because if you leave it in auto when you're doing a portrait session, it'll keep changing the white balance slightly with each image, and then you'll have a whole array. What we want to do is keep it consistent. So I like it at 5,000, so I'm going to go back to that.
The other thing with using auto is it's adjusting for the light that it's seeing ambient, not the strobe that you're firing sometimes. So like we're surrounded by blue LEDs in this space, it might change our image to yellow to compensate for all that blue.
Yeah. Yeah, so auto I would stay away from unless you just don't have a choice. All right, let's get back to this. So we're doing something a little bit more dramatic here. I'm gonna try to get better exposure as well. I'm gonna back it up a tiny bit because one thing we wanna think about when we're using hard light is the angle of the light, right, and where it's falling. So when I look at this, the center of the light source is coming across the front of his face like this. And again, remember I said earlier, some of it more was hitting the top of his head. Now it's a little more even. So I think we're gonna get a bit more of an even shot. We're gonna get a little light on the side of his nose. If you wanna see better, most lights will have some kind of modeling light where you can turn that on. You can kind of get a feel for it. And I can get a sense for where the light's gonna fall, which is basically what I said. All right, so we're gonna take an exposure and see where we're at. Hopefully TTL has decided to work. It's decided to be bright. All right, so what we've got here is a little bit more light kind of come across his face and shaping it. One light in shadow, which is creating effectively drama, but he can still make a connection, right? We still have the connection with the single eye. It's kind of mysterious, but it also has that connection. If you throw, if you throw both eyes into shadow, you're going to be completely mysterious, and that might be, could be off-putting, could be scary, could be, you know, people stay back from this person. How you light somebody's eyes and shape their face is important for the emotional. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Once again, let's fix it. All right.
This is actually important. Remember when he had the trouble in the beginning with the black frame and he couldn't figure out what was going on? Something's going on where his camera isn't letting the trigger sit perfectly on the pins.
Oh.
That way it's not communicating right. So how could it get exposure right? So taking off and on resets the communication.
Ah, perfect. Thank you, Seth. I probably shouldn't drop the camera as much as I do. Okay. And we can see, right, he can come across, like I noticed someone's working it a bit. He's kind of not looking our direction. This would be a great way to light somebody who was like in the background, right? Where he's kind of, we're trying to figure out what's going on with him. And we don't really need a connection. He's just kind of there, right? You could actually go even further, like go even this way with it. And I'm going to bring the modeling light on so you guys can see. Go this way, if you don't mind. Yeah. No, you're good. Just your face. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, right there. So here we're just basically, yeah, and then chin down a little bit. Perfect. Okay. So we can work the light, again, to create what is really kind of an even light on this side. But because we're using a harder, punchier light source, it's still a little bit bright, but because we're using a harder, punchier, bright light source, yeah, we're getting effectively, and you can see, by the way, look at this. See how that highlight on his nose, how it's not blown out? That's because of the white interior of the thing. If this was a silver reflector, that would blow it for sure. So we can see here that, again, we've got even more kind of mystery, but this is kind of even light. So if we do the opposite, so right now he's looking like this, right? But if he goes back and looks towards the light, like and then chin up a little bit, we'll definitely change the vibe, right? And it's fun to kind of take and play with this, right? We can connect with him a little better there. Here it's like he's off, you know, in another world. He's thinking about something. He's more mysterious. Here we kind of get the emotion, and whatever he's feeling, we're bringing in from his eyes, right? Because we can see it a bit, even with this punchy light. And we can see that it's still creating a really nice kind of beautiful light. And this is one of the reasons why I like to do this demo is I want to make it clear that like hard light does not mean ugly light. A lot of times people just attribute it to that. Hard just means that the shadows are going to drop off really quickly. So it allows for a little bit more mystery in the shot. Okay. Question.
They're asking what can we use instead of a 14-inch Magnum to get a similar result?
Okay, so what can we use? So that's a good question. Now, the Magnum is pretty unique, I will say. However, if we revert to something that's a little more common, this is a zoom reflector in Profoto terms. It's a 7-inch reflector. This is kind of a standard reflector that you get. Seth owns this one.
I bought off Joe McNally right there.
He bought it from Joe McNally. This is going to be hard, right? Because it's small, right? Silver. It's going to be specular. Let's see. Right? I started with the ringer, right? I started with kind of an easy, right? Let's go with a little bit of a more typical hard light, and let's see how we can shape this and create something that's interesting with this. Okay. The reason why it's called a zoom reflector with Profoto is because with the way the light system on Profoto, you can slide the reflector up and down on the light. You can zoom it, if you will, and it will change the coverage and the intensity of it. That's why it's called a zoom reflector, if you're ever curious. And there's actually a little chart on the side of the reflector that tells you like where to set it and stuff. So if you like that kind of thing, you have that option. Okay, question.
You kind of addressed this already, but they're asking if using a diffuser would help the specular light, like remove the hot spots.
Right, a diffuser would help the specular light remove the hot spot. And if we can get a diffuser that does not enlarge the size of the light source, it will still stay hard. Okay, so now we're switching to a zoom reflector. This is going to be a little bit punchier and a little harder. Right, so what we can see here is, see how those highlights are starting to come up now? See how we got a little bit of highlight over here in his eye? We're starting to see like at the pores of his skin, you can start to see a little reflectance on it. That's specularity. That's a specular highlight. And again, specular highlights are not bad. They're just something you want to think about. In some cases, it can work really nicely. It can make somebody look very fresh. If you're shooting makeup, let's say, you want that kind of clean, scrub face look. Having nice specular highlights on the face adds that glow, right? We don't always want to soften and matte everybody out. Even though that's what they're going to teach you when you're first learning lighting, they're just like, put a big softbox up. But the reality is that learning how to shape light and work with it will help you create much more interesting, images.
Can I ask a live question? I just joined, sorry.
Okay. How you doing?
Are you trying to just show us how it works on the side? I'm wondering why the light is not right in front of him or above him.
Why is the light not right in front of him or above him? Would you like me to put the light in front of him?
No, I'm curious.
I mean, is that what you'd like to see?
No, I'm just curious if there's a reason why you're doing that. I just want to know. Because I'm film, and then it's right in the front or right above. I'm secure.
Okay, so that's a really good question. The reason why the light is placed where it is because I'm trying to create a certain shadowy look.
Shadowy.
And I'm putting a bit of, I can look at the shape of his face and I can see if I put the light slightly above him and to one side, we're going to have like from his eyebrow, his forehead down, is going to kind of throw shadow into his light. His nose is going to put shadow across his face, but we're still going to see the fullness of his lips. So it's a good position for it, right? That doesn't mean the other isn't useful, right? If we want to put the light, where was it? Where'd you want it? Above him?
No, I came from film, so I would like no shadow. So,
No shadow.
so meaning.
Oh, no. We don't do that. Just kidding. So let's say, no. I'm just playing with you. So if you were shooting something, let's say you wanted to shoot something of more of a classic kind of, like what I would call a beauty light. And you know, Justin's pretty beautiful, I think. Yeah. And we want to create that, right? We want to show the shape of the face. We want the cheekbones to be accentuated. We want it to be even, right? Then, then we would put the light in front of him and a button to switch wanted, right? See how I'm doing it for you? I know you wanted it. If it's terrible, this is on you.
Yeah, like she asked her, like, this is on them.
Yeah. I mean, if this is bad, if this is terrible, I just want you to know it's on you. Okay, good.
Everyone online, it's the lady in the back.
Right. Yeah.
We got that camera like right around in this area.
Yeah. It's good. It's good that you're owning it. Okay. All right. So this is not typically the lighting instrument that I would use for this. I'd probably use a beauty dish, but I don't have a beauty dish, right? And I got somebody asking, my client is like, hey, why isn't the light in front? I'm like, oh, you want the light in front? No, so we're going to create a little bit more of a yeah. Again, I'm in TTL.
All right.
Not bad, right? We can do that. And notice that with the hard light and it being close to him, we're getting this shape. Now, we can see both of his eyes. He's a little bit more sympathetic, but like what's going on in this scene, right? And we want to learn that. And it's nice. It's a good way to put it. I was going to do that eventually.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I was just giving you a hard time. All right. But it works, right? It's a nice way to light something. Do you not like it? All right. All right, question.
If we paint the inside of a 7-inch reflector white, would that be a good idea? There's a few things to consider with that, my friend.
Paint it yourself? Yeah, so if you want to paint your own reflector, it might not stick. The paint itself might change color over time. It could even be flammable. I don't know what else. There's lots of things.
So you're basically going to have a limited option, because what you're going to need is like barbecue paint, which is heat resistant. But then that means you only have like one white, which might not be actually white. It could be warm white. It could be cool white. It could not even be really white at all. And then you're going to get a color cast from it. So could you do it? Sure.
Yeah, so the idea here is that if you have an extra reflector that you don't care about and you want to try it, yeah, that's really fun. And I recommend messing around and trying stuff, but
be safe.
Be wary of the heat. Yeah, that could definitely be a problem, because even if you don't have your modeling light on, when the flash fires, it's hot. If you've ever put your hand right in front of a flash and fired it, it is hot just for a second. So you want to be very careful about that. Okay.
And just to give you an idea what could actually happen, if you have paint that isn't heat safe and it's over the light and starts stretching and dripping, it could actually touch the front of that strobe. It'll pop, explode.
Yeah, that would be very
People
bad.
get hurt.
All right, there you go. You won the $1,000 prize. Every session said that to say people get hurt at least once.
I'll just take this moment and say, stop lighting people on fire for stupid photos.
Want me to hold?
Yes, please. All right, so let's say that you shot this and you thought, hey, this looks really good, which it does, but you want to get a little bit more detail in the shadows. We can add a reflector in. Now, the reflector is what? Eric, what's the reflector? You are slacking. Big, right? The reflector's big. We don't want to take another 7-inch light and put it below him. If we do, what could happen is we might get cross shadows. It's too difficult to manage that exposure. So if you're going to use some kind of fill, I recommend, especially with a hard light like this, to use something larger. We want it to kind of come in and feel just like natural ambience bouncing up, right? You also want to make sure that your lights can actually hit it. So if there's no grid on this, so it should be fine, but I'll put the monitor on so you guys can see. There it is. Yeah, we can see it's hitting it right here, right? It's always good to make Justin hold it for a while. That's how he builds up the strong muscles.
Work.
Right. All right, he's looking intensely.
Does catering between gigs, so he holds that short.
Right. Right, and we can just see it filling in. Right? Look at that. Beautiful jawline, you know, right there. Oh, what happened there? I had the white balance thing on. Never do that. Let me turn that off. Now it's green.
Oh gosh.
And we can see we're starting to really pick up that beautiful jawline even better than what we had in the other one. So the reflector can be real useful here. This is the white side, which is what? Diffusive, right? Because it's white. We have over here silver. Silver is more specular, so we might get a little bit of more uneven reflection. Okay, nice. Boom. All right. Look at how beautiful that is. By the way, for some reason my TTL's been running a little bit hot, and I'm using TTL because I keep changing the lights around. So I actually have a setting on my capture one to adjust it down a little bit. That's why you see it come up and then get. So if I went like that, that's what it's exposing at. But I'm not losing any detail. I probably should switch it to manual, which is what I will do now. So if you're using TTL and for some reason you're just not happy with the way it's exposing, get yourself a baseline, and then switch over to manual. This is at 2.4. I'm gonna look at my exposure slider here, and I'm gonna slide it over to it looks good to me, which is 0.8. So I'm gonna bring this down to 1.6. Take another exposure. There we go. All right, so now I'm locked in manual, but I have to remember that's a little bit dark, so I'm just gonna come up. One more. Good. Yeah, all right. Now I've got a nice clean exposure. If you're shooting rapidly and you take your camera off of TTL, make sure you remember that. You know, that's one reason why it's nice to shoot tethered, is because you'll notice these things, right? If I start moving the light around, the exposure will not be correct anymore because I'm not in TTL anymore. I'm in manual. But I like this, right? I like that you came in. Actually, we hired her to come in and make that suggestion. Good job. She's in the she's SAG actor.
SAG actor.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's bring a second light in because Profoto gives me more money every time I use one of these magnum reflectors. I get 4 cents every single time I mention it. Okay. Let's come in here and let's use a little bit of a backlight. So this worked out perfectly because typically I'm gonna say when I'm doing these kind of things, I like a little bit of a softer light for my hair light, because somewhere in like 1974 there was a book on photography and they told you to use a hard light for the hair light. Don't do that. Generally speaking, you're just going to put a spot on the back of their head if your light is too small. But this one's 14 inches, so I think we're going to be all right. So we're going to come back here, and I know how big it is because I know how big magnum reflectors are. I knew that from the beginning. I didn't have to measure it.
You literally said 3 wrong measurements before we measured it, so I don't want to hear any of this.
She just got it. She doesn't know I measured it.
It also doesn't matter. Like, oh, if it was 16 instead of 15 inches, do you really think that made a difference?
I think it matters. When you're at the level of demo that I am, there's a big difference between 14 and 16.
What is this level? Tired? What is it? Play it. What is it?
This is this is what I have to deal with all the time. This is my life. All right, so we got this light in the back. We're going to do a little bit of a hair light / separation light. Wow. All right. All right. No, this is C. Okay. The one in the back is in my C group, so I'm using groups here. I'm using a silver bounce. I'm using a white magnum in the back and a zoom reflector up front. Now, what's kind of nice about this is you should always take the most expensive thing you're using and make that like the background light. Brands love that. No, I'm never gonna let it go. Cliff, I know you're out there. All right. All right. All right, so we've added a tiny, tiny bit of separation light, and I just dialed in at basically the same exposure. So it's not doing a heck of a lot. I think for this dramatic shot, we want to add a lot more, right? But I just wanted to get it in position there. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to raise up 1 stop. There we go. You see how we're starting to get that shape? I actually think too, what I might want to do is let's lose the reflector. Or actually, let's only do this side. Okay. That's an advanced reflector technique. Do you see that? Left side. Did you saw that, right? I know it's easy to miss. You see a lot of people with reflectors and they're like, oh, here's a reflector. Here's a reflector. Don't take it from me. And they hold it like this. But if you just go like this, half reflector, I can charge for that, right? Yeah, I'm gonna sell it. Half reflector. It's my new technique. All right. It's also a good exercise just for the one arm. So what we're getting here is, this is like if you're exercising, you're like, all right, so. All right, so you can see that we've got this backlight coming in, a little separation on the left-hand side, camera left, camera right. The light is coming around, shaping his face, adding some darkness there. We could even do, do you think we could do negative fill? Do we have a black card? Oh, okay. Let me see. Do you guys, are you a good enough audience for this? I think you are. All right. So what I want to do is bring a little bit more shadow to this side of his face, but I don't want to move the light. That'd be the simplest way to do it, because my client here in the back was like, I want the light in the center. You heard it, right? She was like, center light only. All right. So we're going to bring some black over here, a little black reflector. What that's going to do, hopefully, is eat up a little bit of the light, give kind of this reflecting off his skin and give us a little bit more shape. This is subtle, but it can be really effective when it works.
Really big.
Oh, I'll take a big one. If you can get it out. If it's not a big deal.
No, you asked for a black card that's going to show a mediocre, tiny difference.
It's going to be such a small difference. Nobody's even, just pretend like you see a difference.
In the world, but
No matter what happens here, people, just pretend like it did something. Otherwise, Seth will never get a card from me again. This card says left window on it. Left window.
Oh, I probably blocked that.
Yeah, okay. It's too short, Eric. Come up here and hold this for me. That's what happens when you stand in the front and sit in the front row. I know. So if you can just hold it up like this. Okay, perfect. And you're tall enough to see over it, unlike me. All right.
For those of you who wonder what the black side of the V-flat's for.
Yeah. So basically, I think I bumped that a little bit. We've got a light coming down the center. This black card hopefully is going to eat up a little bit. We've got a reflector, magnum on that side. We got the half reflector technique that I've just made up today. I mean, I've been using it a lot. I just named it today. Oh, look at that. Made a huge difference. Pretend like, act like it did a lot. Be like, yeah, ooh, yeah, thanks. See?
Could have done it with AI.
It's just the subtlest things can make a big difference, and this is what we do here, right? You can see it's a little bit darker in our shadows over here. Just believe me. All right. What are we even doing around here?
I don't know anymore.
All right. It's kind of, yeah, right.
This is how we shoot you every time. What are you talking
No,
about?
you've never been shot like this.
Cigarette in my mouth. Get some.
And let me tell you something. I did a photo with a cigarette like 3 or 4 years ago. In the comments I got,
Yeah.
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 Oh, they were like,
yeah. I mean, I understand cigarettes are bad for you, but they're still cool.
Well,
it's still cool for the photography, right?
Daniel Norton is known for promoting cigarettes to children. That's just what it is. It's
I-
how his
I had
reputation.
durables for when I was set. Fakes, not the other.
We're not doing anything smoke related in here.
Maybe we'll do that on another channel. All right. Nothing will be in focus at that point. Okay, so we have this. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with this. Anything else from the back you want to see?
Cool.
All right.
That's going on the website.
Yeah, there we go. On the website. I'm feeling good. Let's do something terrible now. It's always a good idea to just make it worse. No, you actually, look, before we do that, you're doing a good job, Eric. I'm going to crank the backlight.
I forgot Eric was there. He's like behind a Ford.
Eric is getting punished now because he didn't answer the question earlier. There we go. I'm bringing it up a little bit, getting a little more heroic. You feeling more heroic there? Yeah. All right, see? You get,
On a poster.
Go
I need that.
Go profile this way. What
Okay.
happens to that light?
Oh, yeah, I want to rip across. Okay. Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh, yeah. Now you need a cigarette.
Yeah, you're welcome, Dan. I just fixed your entire demo.
Good thing says here.
Yep.
I would have never thought of
One
that.
day you'll blow your own nose.
This is nice. What's funny is we got to the point that we get to where I have the light behind him without having actually been doing it. Usually he's like, "Oh, you're gonna put the light behind him?" There you go. No, that's good. That's a really nice shot. All right, I'll see you guys later. All right, Eric, you can sit down. Thank you. Well done, sir.
Give him a round of applause, everybody. Jeez. Wow.
Eric's great. All right.
Did you stamp my paper?
Yes, you did. Stay in school. All right, you're good.
You want me to hold that?
No, it's fine. It doesn't do
I
anything.
have my pay for that.
The union only stay.
We're negative. Okay, so that worked out pretty well, right? In the end, we got banged him in the back. I knew it the whole time. I swear to God.
We got there.
We got this one. All right, let's do one more thing, just because I feel like it. I'm gonna actually make the light softer because that way it'll look terrible.
So someone's asking, does it matter if there's no catch lights in both eyes?
Okay, does it matter if there's no catch lights in both eyes? To me, no. I mean, catch lights are one of those conversations that a lot of people have. I don't particularly worry too much about catch lights. I think if the light falls in a way that warrants them and they're not there, that could look, catch lights, by the way, are the little bright spots in the eye, if you don't know what that is from the lights, reflection of the light source, basically. If you are the kind of person that worries about that, then you could add like a reflector or a little light or something. But I found that in a well-lit portrait, it doesn't actually affect it that much. You know, I mean, if it was very dark and moody, you might want to add some life to the eyes, but for me, it doesn't bother me. I don't know. Question of the audience. Uh-oh, do you want the light on the side? To create a what?
A sharp shadow on the back.
Oh, a sharp shadow on the background. Okay. Okay, so in order to create a sharp shadow in the background, what makes a lot of difference is how close the subject is to the background. The closer they are to the background, the sharper the shadow will be. You could use some kind of focusing light, will help you with that. Then you can control the sharpness of the light by focusing it. That could be like a Fresnel light or some kind of a focusal spot. That'll help you do that, yeah. But essentially, all you need to do is just put the light in such a way, like, I mean, if I put the light like here, right, there'd be a shadow on the background, but it wouldn't be really sharp because he's too far away and this is not a focusing light. Does that make sense? So you need some kind of focusing light to really get or put him right up against the background or a lot of space. A good way to like get like the sunlit look, I'll do it in my studio sometimes, I'll just put the person right against the white wall and put the light up kind of high and just right at them and you'll get this like sharp shadow against the wall. That feels like the sun because it's like this sharp shadow. But to get like a silhouette kind of shadow with this kind of head, it's not going to work. It's going to spread out too much. So yeah, close to the wall or a focusing spot. Mm-hmm.
Like a double shadow, that's because the reflector is wrong, right?
Yeah, you shouldn't get a double shadow if you can avoid it. Uh-huh. Okay, so if you're getting a double shadow on a product because the light is too close, that's because you're getting there's basically two light sources going on. You've got the actual light and then you've got the reflector. So the best way to get rid of that, I think if I'm understanding you correctly, is to put a diffusion on the front of the reflector so it becomes a single light source. Does that make sense? Then you should get one. Yeah, it'll be more diffused, but you'll get one shadow. Yeah, that's why they have. It'll still be sharp because the hardness of the light, which is the sharpness of the shadow, is based on distance, not on diffusion. It'll just be more diffused, so your highlights won't pop. Well, further away would work. Yep. Further would give you, or smaller. It's the size of the light source relative to your subject. So if I'm shooting a tiny little like insect and I have a flash that's this big and they go like this, it's huge, right? But if I'm shooting like my hand and the flash is this big, it's small, right? So it's relative. Does that make sense? Okay. I was doing something. You're welcome. What was I doing?
I don't know. What were you doing?
I don't know. I totally forgot what I was doing. Thank you for throwing me off. No, I was gonna make it softer. So one thing we could do is go like this. I know. Am I killing it? Okay, I won't do this because Seth's going to do it next week. If you come to enough of these demos, you realize there's only like 5 things that we do.
None of them are good jokes.
And none of them are good. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bounce the light off this reflector, which is then going to be bigger. But because the reflector is further away, it's going to be smaller than it would be if the reflector was really close, right? So it's not going to be as hard as that, but it's going to be harder than it was. I got to put it back in TTL. All right, I'm going to turn off the background light for now, just to not confuse myself. All right, let's see what we get. Okay, so we got a few things going on here. The light on him is still a little bit, so you can see the shadow edge. It's not super, super soft, but it is definitely softer. You see the edge of the shadow being more gentle, but we still get texture and stuff in his skin. But what we get is the background's now lit, right? Because this light is spreading all over the place and lighting the background, and also the inverse square law, right? This is my light source to him, to the background. It's all about ratios. So if you want the background to be lit gray, this could have been a whole demo. Delete that. My next demo is how to get a gray background with one light. Kidding. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's not bad, right? Now let's do a little kicker light. I don't love that there's a wrinkle in the background, but.
Well, I've been on a ladder all day. You can get on a ladder and change that paper one day. You haven't done it in 15 years. I'm the one doing it.
I will never change the paper.
Yeah, you will never change the paper.
I'll just complain about it constantly.
Yeah, you will.
All right. All right, we're almost there. One last shot. Unless it's terrible, then we'll have to take a second one. We're going to do a similar thing, but we're going to add a little bit of a kicker. Here we go. Oh, double shot. I took 2 pictures. Oh, that was a bit much. Okay, a little much, a little much.
That light's probably
Right, that's also in the reflector. Okay, so bring your face this way slightly. I'm going to turn this down. And I'm going to turn down my main light too, because as Seth said, the Magnum is also hitting the reflector, so it's amplifying the light from the front. Because remember, I'm not in TTL anymore, I'm in manual. There we go. So I just balanced it out a little bit. So now we've got a little bit more shape to his face. Now we've got a little bit more of a softer light. It's not quite as, it's not super soft because we still have texture in the skin. Like, look at that beautiful texture in the skin. You can't, AI makes that kind of texture. Like, look at those lips. All right. We got a lit background. Yes.
Like this look with him turn beautiful.
Wow. You want that shot again? Did Seth pay you to do that? Okay. All right. Can we do this one again, Justin? This guy.
not my fault. My style resonates with them more, you know?
Your style does resonate.
I'm a man of the people.
Yeah. Well, we like to call that a basic.
I'll let you have it.
There we go. Also very nice. Not bad, right? No matter what Seth does is good.
Look, whatever we do with Justin, it always looks like a cop TV show. Like it's a subway. This is in the subway telling you to watch Blue Bloods or whatever.
Right.
CSI, blah, blah, blah.
Boston Blue now, all right?
So you see with the second shot, I mean, aside from the fact that the background is now gray and nobody loves a gray background, the light's a little bit kind of smoother because the light's a little softer, right? Whereas this one, it got a little bit more richness to it, but you can actually see because my white balance is fixed, right? And what did I do? I put something in front of the light, this board. It changes the color of the light. So that's when I might want to work out and do a custom white balance, because that was asked earlier. With the Profoto lights, I think the white balance is perfect for his skin tone. Here, I think he's a little washed out. So I'll put the go to Florida for a week tan on him and he'll be good. All right. Questions, thoughts, concerns? Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I said the lamp reminds me of the Pixar lamp.
Pixar light.
The Pixar. Oh yeah. It does. Profoto should make a thing around that. It'll be $8,000. They'll do a Disney combo or is Pixar Disney? I don't know. Yes, sir. Yep.
So it's not so even. Brighter on one side, darker on the other.
Okay, kind of. So the question is, can we use this technique and get more of a gradient on the background? It's trickier because it has to do with distance to the background. We could possibly get a little bit by turning the light. Let me give it a shot. We'll see what we can do. If I do this, I mean, it's going to change the overall character of the light, but I think it'll still work pretty nicely, and we might get a bit of a gradient. Let's see. Oh, he's not in my shot anymore for some reason.
You might not because you're zoomed.
I think it's too far away.
I
Yeah.
think you need to, like, yeah.
We'll see. No, it just doesn't really get it because it's the distance is spreading it out too much, unfortunately.
You're also compressing that background, right? So like
Yeah.
if the light's hitting a part of the background, now you're compressing it with a longer lens. It's making that more even.
Yeah. It's not gonna make a difference, but I'll do it for you anyways because I love you. I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm turning it. I'm turning it. Is that good? All right. If this works, by the way, delete the part where I said it wasn't gonna work. No, it's darker, but it's just still even because you want a gradient, right? We're not really gonna get a gradient because of the distance and what Seth said, the compression.
Do one zoomed out, just show 'em.
Okay. Yeah.
I think a part of this is the lens.
Yeah.
You're literally making that background even with the lens as well.
Yeah. This is my Helmut Newton. I'm just gonna use this so it looks better.
So he's going to zoom out for you.
There you go. So you can see that it is, in fact,
you see how far away it is?
yeah,
You
So-
have to actually shoot towards the gradient,
right. So we
which would change the entire shot.
yeah, but that's a good thought, though. Yeah, I mean, really, if I wanted a gradient background, the simplest way would be to just aim a light at the background. Yeah, 100%.
You want zones to
Yeah.
the background and your foreground. And your
Yeah, so you're better off not having a big wide light that's going to bounce everything. If you had it instead of this, if this was a softbox and I put it here, you'd have a gradient background, right? It's because of the distance, which is the inverse square law, right? Inverse square law states that happens. X over Y plus B. Basically, the further away something is, the closer something is, the faster the fall off. So the further away we put it, the slower the fall off. So the slower we get.
Blame it on the guide number.
Yeah, it's the guide.
The guide number thing.
I used to work for this photographer years ago, and her dynalights were broken, and they couldn't control the power. So, but she didn't want to say that in front of clients, so she'd always be like, "We have to adjust the power using the inverse square law." In other words, move the light further away. All right. Any questions? We got 2 minutes. Then Justin's out.
I got blast. Like
Qu-
Jimmy Neutron.
I was just gonna say that.
What's your mind, man?
All right.
Mind think alike.
With no more questions, Justin, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Sets on the Mighty Mix. I'm Daniel Norton. Subscribe to the channel.
Yeah.
And do all the good things that you do. We'll be back in. Seth, are you streaming? We're not sure. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Seth is streaming. That'll be on the events channel.
Follow this QR code for the streaming channel. That's everything except Daniel. And
Yeah.
then this QR code over here is the event schedule overall. All right, guys.
Yeah.
We'll see you on the next one. Thank you guys so much.